Morning. It's Tuesday, May 17th. Finland and Sweden both announced that they have made bids to join the Western Military Alliance NATO. They said that on Sunday. Now this ends a long modern history of military non-alignment. And now everybody's watching to see what Russia is liable to do. Now Russia is in bad straits. They have messed up this so-called special military operation in Ukraine. They have lost thousands of fighting forces. Their military has been decimated. They've lost armaments, tanks, and planes. And while they have literally destroyed the Ukraine, they have suffered grievous losses too. But not physical losses in Russia itself. But the Russian people have recognized what's going on, and they have started demonstrating against this special military operation. But the fact that its two neighboring countries, Sweden and Finland, are prepared to join NATO has driven Putin crazy. If he's not mad enough as it is, this is driving him crazy. Because he can threaten himself blue in the face. He can raise threats against them joining NATO. But he has no real power to stop them from joining. And what can he really do, physically do? There's only one thing that Russia can do, and that's go nuclear. And that would be a disaster for the world and for the Russian people. So Putin basically has his hands tied, and he can threaten all he wants about Finland and Sweden joining NATO. But he really can't do anything except create a disaster. And a disaster that would destroy the Russian people as well as many other people. And he blames the United States for all of this. We are trying to conquer Russia. We are trying to take Russia away from being its great nation that it once was. But I don't know if anybody really believes that. Yes, the U.S. is heavily involved in this decision, I'm sure. And I'm sure that they would like to have Sweden and Finland in NATO. Now, you can't just join NATO. You have to be accepted by all 30 nations. And right now, Turkey has voiced opposition to allowing Finland and Sweden to join NATO. Now, nobody knows why Erdogan has taken this position, but one could think that maybe Putin called Erdogan and promised him the world if he stood up and stopped Sweden and Finland from joining NATO. That's the only thing that I could think of outside of a nuclear war that could stop them from joining. So Putin may have put a lot of pressure on Erdogan. And I don't know why Erdogan would listen to him, but who knows what Putin promised him. Maybe Putin promised Erdogan oil, free oil or something. Who knows? But in any event, right now Turkey is an obstacle to accepting Sweden and Finland into NATO. Now, Russia has, over the years, made repeated provocations against NATO nations. Primary provocation would be flying over some NATO country's airspace. Not deep into the airspace, but just flying over it just to show that Russia can do certain things, But that's nothing major. But it's increased over the years. So maybe Putin has felt that he's been getting stronger and stronger. But now in the Ukraine, he's showing the world that he's not as strong as he thinks he is. And minor provocations can be ignored. But not now, not anymore. and certainly not with 2 more nations. So instead of dealing with 30 nations, now he's going to have to deal with 32, and maybe more, because Switzerland is on the verge of thinking that they might break their world-renowned neutrality and join NATO. So Putin has done this to himself. He had thought he would have a quick victory and everything would be hunky-dory, but that's not the case. And so now he's put himself in a position where there will be many countries that might want to join NATO, and then Russia will be standing alone with possibly just China and North Korea as allies. And then if he creates these minor incursions, what is he going to do if they fight back, if they decide to shoot one of his planes out of the sky? So Putin is going to complain. He's going to continue to complain. And maybe he's going to complain to the point that the Russian people are going to throw him out on his ass. But who knows if that's ever going to happen. He's a sick man, so maybe the people will just wait for him to die. And just remember that his threats are relatively meaningless now due to the fact that his major military force is tied up in Ukraine and they haven't been able to conquer that country yet. So there's no real threat right now against Sweden or Finland. In fact, it might be that Sweden and Finland go and take back land that Russia took from them years ago. Wouldn't that be a kick in the ass? So I see this situation as all bluster, all Russian bluster, no matter what Putin and his emissaries say to the rest of the world. They are in bad shape, and the only thing that's really keeping them under wraps, so to speak, is the fact that they are a major nuclear power. And that's a scary situation with a man like Putin in charge. And let's hope that many in his tight higher circle can keep him under control and avoid having him push the nuclear button, because that would be a disaster that none of us wants to see. So short of threatening nuclear, which would be a very big mistake on his part, there's really not much he can do to keep Sweden and Finland out of NATO. Maybe he's relying on Erdogan to do the dirty task for him. So I'll leave you with those thoughts this morning. They're not particularly pleasant, but there's some insight to be seen. That's it. Bye.